Came out in the very late 90s, 2000, and it features Keanu Reeves as a character called Neo. Neo, as the movie starts off, is a computer hacker, and that's how he makes his real money. I mean, he has his normal day-to-day, hour-to-hour kind of job, but he's a computer hacker, and he gets contacted over the internet by a very famous, almost fabled computer hacker named Morpheus. As this starts to unfold, Neo starts being tracked by some agents. No one knows of what kind of government branch they work for, but they're tracking him. Eventually he meets Neo. Neo meets Morpheus, and Morpheus gives him an opportunity to see what Neo has always suspected, that something is wrong in the world. He gives him a choice. Does he continue living in a false reality, or will he give him to choose seeing the world for what it really is? So Neo chooses to see the world for what it really is, because he's very uncomfortable with what it is now. And he comes to find out and wakes up to a world that's completely different, where human beings are basically the energy source for robots. And that people are plugged into a computer system that lets them dream our world here. What we think is reality is false. And it follows Neo as he continues this exploration and finding out not only is everything he thought was true is false, but he's the chosen one, the one that will help free humanity from being slaves to the robots. He, and through the series of the movies, because there's a trilogy, Neo ends up becoming the Christ figure in this movie. And it's really interesting, because further you go into the movies, the deeper the philosophy, the deeper the biblical parallels grow, as well as some Taoism and some other Eastern religions. But I want to focus on the first Matrix movie and this discovery that Neo goes through, finding out the world he thought was reality has been false. Because I think today in our world, we are fed a bunch of lies. Kind of what we had in our call to worship. We get these images of what people are supposed to be like, what even Christians are supposed to be like. And we're told if you don't vote this way, or you don't think this way, or if you don't support this particular political party, or support these kinds of businesses, or if you don't buy and listen to only Christian music, you're not a good Christian. We even have people on the radio and the TV that do political commentary that say some pretty outlandish things, and a lot of people buy into it, especially even on the Christian faith. And we're being misled. As the Bible passage that was chosen for today, we're constantly being misled by people who are either delusional or have their own agendas. And it's something that is just scary to me as a pastor, as I sit there and watch and hear some of these things come out of these people's mouths, and how people blindly follow anything they say. And that's one of the reasons I joined the Disciples of Christ after being Baptist for a good chunk of my life. It's because I like thinking for myself and not having my pastor tell me what I'm supposed to believe. And it's a lot harder to explore and find reality for yourself than have someone tell you what it is. It's so much easier just to sit and listen to a pastor tell you what to believe, or someone on the radio, or someone on the TV, or in the magazines tell you what you should be like, what you should look like, and how you think. And I think that's why some churches are doing well, is because they say this is what you're supposed to believe, this is how you're supposed to be. And people start thinking for themselves. As we go back to the idea of this matrix, this false world that people lived in, the reason they could accept that is that it was blind following. As the story goes in the explanation of how the matrix was created, they started with an ideal world, that what the machines thought would be perfect. But people thought too much for themselves at that point, and they rejected that. So they built a new matrix that had problems and flaws, and people bought into it. They believed the false truth that was given to them by the machines. How often do we do that every day? That we stand and just fill ourselves with a load of crud that's not true. We are to think for ourselves. We are to educate ourselves. Not just me telling you what to believe. If you're sitting there and all you believe is what your pastor believes, your faith isn't real. And that's something I had to experience for myself. Because growing up, I believed anything my pastor, and especially my youth pastor, told me. But when I got to college, and I started finding out some certain facts about biblical history, how the Bible was put together, how certain things in the Bible never actually happened, my faith was crushed. Because it wasn't my faith. It wasn't built on education. It wasn't built on my own decisions and my own thoughts. It was someone else's. We have to understand what the world is really like by thinking for ourselves. We need to go beyond these things that we're being told and embrace truth. Now, it might look a little bit different to each person. It will be experienced differently by each person because we are different. I'm not the same as Pat Probst, or even my wife Randy, or the youth in the back. We're all going to perceive life differently because we've had different experiences. And that's what's so cool about the real world, is it is different for each person. And reality is exactly that. It's this beautiful kaleidoscope of people's experiences and thoughts and ideas. They're influenced by the colors and experiences of life. And that's what the church should be, is not to be a one automaton, monolithic idea, but rather this beauty. When we go out into nature and we see these flowers, we find them beautiful because they're different. Some of you find roses beautiful. Some find tiger lilies. Some find bluebonnets. Some even find the weeds that are dandelions beautiful. But if they were all just one flower, you would not find beauty in that. It would be commonplace and nothing new. Beauty is found in difference, in variety. It is my personal opinion that the Christian faith and reality that we experience is like a puzzle. Each person brings a piece or several pieces to that puzzle. And through conversation, through education, through community, through love, we bring those pieces together to form a very beautiful picture. We begin to see what God is really like through those conversations. And sometimes we have to sit there and be tolerant of people that have completely different ideas. Because in everything, we have a little bit of truth and a little bit of false. We get through those discussions and come together and build this ultimate picture, this ultimate beauty, this ultimate reality that is God and God's purpose for us all. So do not allow yourselves to be confused, to be deceived by some of those people who claim to be experts. Listen to what they have to say. Question them. I mean, even question me. I'm your pastor. I'm saying question me. Question those Keith Oldmans, Glenn Becks, the people you can hear on the local stations, on the Christian stations. Listen to what they say. And then pray, read, educate yourself on these things. And then you can truly say yea or nay what they have to say. Or maybe somewhere in between. You get to decide the faith for yourself. Jesus and his disciples did not just blindly follow the law. Jesus came in and said, guess what? You know what? That doesn't sound right. I'm not supposed to heal people on the Sabbath? No, that seems to be missing the point. We're supposed to care for people and then follow those basic ideas of the law. If Jesus had just blindly followed the teachers of his day, we would not have this wonderful and amazing and moving and just this weird mix of people kind of faith that's still beautiful and glorious. So I invite you to be part of this kaleidoscope of beauty. Face reality for what it is by thinking for yourselves. As I invite our elders and deacons to come forward for the time of communion, when we approach this table, we do see a part of that reality that none of us can truly comprehend. That can only be provided by Christ through His life, His teachings, His death and resurrection that we celebrate here at this table.